What's happening, people? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Alex, and then this is episode 5 on kind of like getting into strongman training. Starting off with sandbag, Bulgarian split squats, or elevated Bulgarian split squats, because you can see the sandbag at the back. Tough, very killer exercise on your lower body. The way this exercise works is 20 seconds, as many as you can on your left side, and then 10-second rest, and then another 20 seconds on your right side, and then take a 10-second rest. So the whole set is about a minute, or it is a minute, so 20 on each side, and then 10 seconds in between, so 40 plus 20, like 1 minute for the set. You can do about 6 to 10 minutes, so 6 to 10 sets. I think I tried and done like 12 or 14, but I didn't put the whole sets in there because obviously the video would be longer. Killer exercises, and then as the title like implies, is acknowledging weakness. For me especially is, or for my perspective from powerlifting view, is you really concentrate, or I've been concentrating a lot on, my squat, deadlift and bench, obviously the main movements. And then in terms of imbalancing issues and all that, I mean, I used to do every now and then Bulgarian split squats and all that, but it was with dumbbells, or probably like the barbell, which is a lot more balance in there than the sandbags. So with the sandbag, it really exposes your like weakness areas in terms of like hips, all the kind of like stabilizing muscles, in your lower body as well, your upper body as well, because it is as well as a core kind of like strength exercise over here, because you're trying to hang on to the sandbag on your shoulder, and then you're really bracing hard your core to like keep it from falling. So you can see me here struggling again. So it was my first time doing this exercise with a sandbag, so really getting humbled over here. So I think the weight on the sandbag was 50 kg on this, and then I really did feel like my legs on the next couple of days. So kind of like, I would say not the best form in terms of trying it with the sandbag. So I would probably try it out with normal like lunges on the floor, or like Bulgarian on the floor rather than on the elevated. With the elevated foot, it does give you more of an angle, so you can target like deeper onto like your hips. But I would safely say that it's better off starting off on the ground, get a better feel for it, and then like if you want to do an elevated after like a while of doing it and then getting the hang of it, then do that. So a real kick-ass exercise for me, kind of like, real humbled, I would say, on this specific exercise. But yeah, really makes you realize all your weak points, so really familiar with other people. My left arm is stronger than my right, or vice versa. So, or your your right leg might be stronger than your left. So, really exposes those weak areas. And one of the things that I'm starting to get the more hang of, and then realizing as I do sandbag training, is all like kind of like my stabilizing muscles that are quite weak compared to like the more dominant muscles. So that's the kind of like thing that you need to really look out for when you kind of like plateau, or you really go and really extending the amount of weight, like you're lifting times your body weight. Because at the end of the day, a chain is as strong as its weakest link. So you can have massive quads and all that, but or you can have a massive back, or like like chest, or whatever the case might be. But if you're one of your weak areas, like for instance, like for me, it was like core for a long time. I've trained my core to like being stronger, but obviously we all got our weak areas. One of the weak areas that I do realize that I have, especially on benching, was my shoulders, kind of like my stabilizing muscles on over there. So one of the exercises I'm doing now with kettlebell is, I don't know, this one, kind of like hold the kettlebell up high and then lay on the floor and then come up. I don't really know the name of the exercises, so kind of like one of the things I need to get better at, naming the exercises properly. But you guys get the idea. I've done 2 sets of 2 on this one, about 8 reps on each shoulder, because obviously I don't have a barbell, which kind of like is one of the plans that I do have for future. How to get my hands on cheap barbell, or kind of like budget barbells, I would say, and then maybe some more stuff. But for the time being, working with what I have, and kind of like pretty much all I have is kettlebells, sandbags, and a couple of dumbbells. So this one really targets working your shoulders into like keeping it stabilized. Obviously the whole point over here is not to drop the weight or collapse your shoulder. So I'm doing my best over here, kind of like to maintain it as stable as I can while I move from up position to on the floor and then back up again. So that's my shoulder exercise for, kind of like stabilizing your muscles. Another thing you can do, which I will show up later, is I kind of like mix it up. Is gonna be with, which I did with my farmer's walk. Quick tip for the day, farmer's walk, great exercise to build your core. Obviously, the way I'm doing over here is not as heavy. I think these are both 225 little barrels, which I got for free. So easiest thing you can do is, if you go to like not big buildings, kind of like massive companies and all that. I mean, valeters and all that. I would say they do kind of like obviously stock up with like big barrels of fluids, like cleaning fluids and all that. Once they're empty, most of the time they chuck them out. So if you go and ask them, they ain't gonna like. Hopefully they ain't gonna charge you. I mean, I got this for free. Yeah, so that's 25 liters. So about 25 kg on each side. So 50 kg in total. The trick is in here. If you play with density, then you can add more weight. What do I mean by that? And this is my kind of like shoulder exercise I was talking to. But I'm going to finish the sentence with kind of like the farmer's walk is obviously with the barrels. If you add different type of material in there, for instance, sand is about 1.5 times heavier than liquid. So you will get like probably about 40 kg on each barrel. And then concrete, I think, is about 2.5 times heavier than liquid. I think like, let's say like for instance like water, so that would be about 50 kg per barrel. Obviously you gotta realize that the barrels might not be able to hold the weight, and then you need to kind of like adapt to that situation, and then maybe like put like concrete into the concrete, some steel handles or something of that nature, which you can get by cheap. They're not going to be that expensive, like pipe and then kind of like get it into a shape and then putting it onto like inside the concrete while it's still settling. But as for the shoulder exercise, I'm kind of like mixing into the farmer's walk. Again, is for stabilizing my shoulders. With this one, I think again it's a 12 kg kettlebell, I believe, or probably might be the 8 kg on this one. Kind of like doing another 15-meter walk in between the sets, which I've done over here. Like I think 4 sets of farmer's walk and shoulders. And that was pretty much the video, guys. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.